All right, we are live, and I think there's one person here. So, welcome, person. And I actually just finished editing, uh, surprisingly quickly, the unboxing video for these. So, this is sort of the after the fact. I'm not surprised by them at the moment, but they're still amazing. And I'm surprised actually how well I've got my lights set for these because it looked really great in the video. Hey, Chris. Yeah, it looked really great in this video, so I'll put that up after this. They're not Roy boots, and I'm actually thinking these might replace my Roy boots as something that was every day, something I would wear every day because they look great. And it took me 14 years. Yeah, they don't have the crepe sole, but I was having some issues with the crepe sole. Um, but it took me 14 years to actually get into. I actually even haven't even laced them yet, so I shouldn't get too ahead of myself. But it took me 14 years to get a pair of shell footwear. I've only borrowed wingtips from friends of mine, and I've worn those, which I loved. And I guess the reason I never got them was because they're so expensive, and these were still really expensive. But I finally grew a pair and went for it, and I'm really happy with how they look. I have, like I said, I haven't even put these laces on them yet, but pretty excited to beat these up. Uh, best Roy boot. Wait, Roy boot, best boot. Yeah, yeah, they're probably double the price of the Roy boot, but I'm still really happy with the Roy boot. So I don't know if those will ever go away. I might have to resole them pretty soon. Um, but 14 years took me to get something like this, and I had tried to get some Allen Edmonds. I believe they're called the Dalton boots, which were very narrow for me. So I knew I fit certain Alden lasts and certain Alden sizes. So I was considering Alden, which I'd still love to get. I like a plain toe boot because I'm a simple guy, but I would love to get an Alden, also a boot, um, maybe even a dress shoe or wingtips. I really like their long wings. But I had the opportunity to try the sizes of these Vibergs because Nick Horween has a couple pairs of Vibergs, and we happen to be the same size. So he let me try on his. I believe he has some wax flush Chrome Excel that are very similar to these. So they fit me great, and because of that, I decided to go for it. And they look like they will be the winner. I still have to try them on, which I'm going to try to lace, in the next hour or so and see. I went natural because I love natural. So I pulled out a bunch of natural shell stuff too because I reinvigorated my spirit for natural again. So I've got a natural Tony the Ant here, a natural Fat Herbie with this awesome interior with that ink stamp. And I've got this crazy natural shell John the Fox with an amazing reverse inside and a natural key case here. Um, and I've had many natural wallets over the years, and they've all worn in so well. I decided to try it on the boots, which I don't know if they're going to patina the same way. I'm imagining they won't because of the way that a wallet wears in your pocket. This won't develop that same sort of deepening of color, that sort of golden brown. And I'm a little worried about keeping them clean. So you're right. It's kind of strange to go for the natural, but I just think they're too cool to not get. I was thinking of doing something really crazy like the marbled stuff, but I don't know if I'm cool enough to pull that off. So the natural had to do. I'm really excited about these. They're heavy. And all the other Vibergs that I've felt have the same sort of heft to them. They just feel correct to me as far as how they're made. They feel like they've been really well thought out. Yeah, can't wear them. I look like a. I feel like they're kind of clowny, but I just think that leather texture is really cool. just something different, you know. But yeah, I'm definitely not cool enough to wear that. I'm wearing a gray sweatshirt and everything black, so I can't really pull off much of anything. I'm not terribly excitingly dressed. But what's really cool, what really impressed me was the presentation that Viberg had with this box. The label, I don't know if all of their labels are hand done like this one. If the light will go. So they hand labeled that, which I like, just because I like feeling like it was made for me. But I don't know if they do that. Hopefully they do. The box feels like even the box feels substantial. And inside, they had a really cool. I didn't mention this in the video. I should have. They included what I think they're intending to be as a polishing cloth, which is really cool to include, along with some Venetian cream in another bag here. So Venetian cream is here. It won't focus on it, I guess. Whatever. All of the shell Cordovan at the tannery has been treated with an application of Venetian cream, and it's been done that way for the last 100 years. Every piece of shell Cordovan gets a touch of this on the end. So it's cool that they sort of complete the story with this and the old-timey packaging, which I like. But they also included 2 sets of laces. There's a black pair and a darker brown pair. I'm going to put the brown on. What do you guys think? I don't know if you can even tell the difference. They're so similar. But let's see. Oh, they're very close. So for me, it seems like the brown is going to be the way to go. But I've broken many pairs of laces, so it'd be good to have backup. So I'll put those on. They also included some really cool stuff. This is a care guide. Care guide. Let's see what it says. I don't know if I want to read all of it. It's a lot. Thank you for choosing Viberg. We have gone through great lengths to source the finest materials and components from around the world. Leathers are chosen for their unique characteristics and aging properties and inconsistencies such as scars, veins, and variations in color, spelled with a U because they're from Canada, and texture are natural features and should not be considered flaws. These don't actually have any leather flaws that I can tell. If I was going to really be a jerk and nitpick, it looks like they over buffed the toe on one of them and went through a bit of the finishing layer, but I don't think that's actually an issue, especially because that's probably going to be the first thing I scuff anyways. And you can't really tell, but I think I know a little too much. So yeah, the leather itself has sort of, for me, no variance of character. It looks flawless on both of them. They did a really good job cutting the right spots of the shell, which is actually not as easy as you might think, because like they say, every piece of leather is a little bit different, and sometimes you have to cut around some of the variations. They continue by saying, all of our boots and shoes were built with a heavyweight leather insole and heel counter. These natural materials will mold to the shape of your foot, resulting in a custom fit and increasing comfort over time. Please allow up to 30 days of wear for this initial break-in. I haven't worn these, but I can confirm, again, Nick has 3 pairs of Vibergs, and he's mentioned that at first they were really tough to wear in, but now I see him wearing them every day, and he says they're incredibly comfortable now. Each piece of footwear is closely inspected, conditioned, and polished or brushed before being sent to you or one of our stockists. There's no need to treat your new boots or shoes with any product before wearing. Remove surface stains daily with a damp cloth or brush, and always allow your footwear to dry completely between wears. That reminds me that somebody called me out saying it might have been on my Roy boots or my Indy boots, they didn't like how there was some creasing developing towards the toe, or between the toe and the and the rest of the boot. And they suggested using some shoe trees, which I should do. That seems like a reasonable suggestion, and that will get rid of some of that moisture as well. For smooth leathers, we suggest either Viberg leather conditioner or a matte finish, or Viberg for a matte finish, or Viberg shoe cream for a polish finish. Rough out and suede leathers should be brushed regularly and treated, or it can be treated with silicone-based waterproofing spray. Heavily soiled boots should be cleaned with Viberg saddle soap as needed. I don't know if I would do that on these. Please note please note then any treatment may alter the color and texture of leather, as it's always best to test a new product on an exposed area of the boot or shoe. And then they give a email address here to ask questions, and I'd imagine that they would be good at answering some of those questions. So maybe I'll have to take them up on that. So I thought that was really nice. And they also include a stitch down construction booklet, which I'm not well versed with shoe manufacturing, but it's my understanding that this is different than a Storm welt or a Goodyear welt, and it's because the leather upper it comes out the side here, and they stitch it directly to the sole. Gosh, I should demo that a little bit better. The leather here on the surface of the toe, for example, it comes out this way, and they fold it over that last, and then later stitch it down onto the sole. So you can see it's really obvious where this particular company does it, right here. And you can even see the layer sort of disappear. So that is sorry, it's reading your comment there. That is the stitch down construction. And this particular boot has a day-night sole, which reads more like Danite, Danite. I believe it's pronounced Danite. I've resoled my indie boots with these soles, and I like them a lot more than the neoprene cork sole that was on those. They're very grabby and very durable. So that's what the Danite's all about. Actually, Brett, since I was spoiled and got hooked up with these, I mean, I'm buying them. They didn't just give me these, but since he made them for me, I had an opportunity to indirectly interact with him. I had Nick as sort of an intermediary helping me get these. But I went with all of Brett's suggestions. So the Day-Night sole was the suggestion that Brett had to make this. He also suggested the brass hardware with this particular amount of speed hooks. So there's 4 hooks. And he suggested the amount of eyelets as well. Day-Night slippery on ice. I can't disconfirm that. Is that a word? I can't say that you're wrong. And I'd imagine you're right if you slipped on ice. But I feel like everything's kind of slippery on ice. Are there any soles that are better on ice? Yeah, so the crepe sole and I have a pair I'm looking at of the 1,000 Mile boots. The 1,000 Mile boots have this leather sole. It's really slippery. And I'd say that one's the worst for almost all conditions. Vibram. There's that crazy Vibram ripple sole. I bet that would be cool. But that big lug sole, like a Vibram lug sole, that'd probably be pretty good on ice as well. Yeah. There's not a lot of those little treads. I don't know if that's what you'd call them. And I'd imagine that like a smooth spot right here, if you caught that, or like a smooth spot on the heel, if you caught that on some ice, you might slide a bit. So you probably are right. That's a good point. I think for ice, your best option is lug, but they look like mountain boots. They're definitely not sleek, the lug soles. They're really chunky. So I'd agree with that, but I agree. For me at the tannery, I have a lot of the environment can be pretty wet, and we have a lot of the flooring is bizarre. It makes no sense, but a lot of it is actually just steel plates, and sometimes water spills on there. I actually on those indie boots with the Day-Night soles, I never had any issues with like wet surfaces. But I can't really say you're wrong about the ice. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. But I don't know if I'd really want to wear these through ice and snow. I do want to beat them up. I don't want to baby them. Just because I like that's that's the whole reason I started the wallet company here is I like aging all the leathers. I want to see how it develops sort of with normal use. So I'm definitely going to, if these fit, of course, I hope they do. If they fit, I'll definitely follow up and show you how that wears in. But yeah, this is their little booklet about the stitch down construction. I also know that there's a Blake construction, which is another way to attach a sole, and I think this is similar to a Blake. And somebody call me out on that. If one of you four, if one of you four know a lot about boots and shoes, I believe there's the Goodyear welt, which they take that upper and put it through multiple layers of leather and stitch all the way through it. And the Blake, and I believe this might be the same as a stitch down as a Blake. Could be wrong. Those are sewn right to the soles. And I think the reasoning or the logic, the thought process was it would reduce, it would improve your waterproofing, improve any chance of water getting through to your foot. Blake's supposed to be hidden. Yeah, maybe you're right. And maybe it's Blake, Stitch Down, and Goodyear. But these don't go all the way around anyways. It's that sort of 270. So let's see what they say. Yeah. All right. So this pair of boots was made using a stitch down construction and features a heavyweight leather midsole and insole and midsole. This method of footwear manufacturing dates back to the early 20th century and was implemented at Viberg in the 1960s. We skive the upper leather by hand and turn the vamps outwards, which gets sewn directly to the midsole. A second row of stitching then attaches the outsole to the midsole and the vamp before the heel is finally nailed in. So this is what we're talking about, right? A second row of stitching is then added to the outsole. A second row of stitching then attaches the outsole to the midsole and vamp before the heel is finally nailed in. Yeah, that's very visibly obvious. You can see the 2 layers of stitching there. That's cool. This creates a highly durable and waterproof boot that is particularly suited for the climate in Pacific Northwest. Today, we continue to manufacture our signature logging boots in the same way. In this way, as well as the selection of casual footwear is more robust for heavyweight leathers. So that's cool. And then they have a couple photos here of how they do that, which let's see if this works. So on the top, I think that's the part where they're talking about skiving or thinning down the leather and attaching it underneath the last. And then the second part looks to be where they're stitching it down. So that's cool. What else do they include? Oh, and then it's just had bags with bags. So they have nice cloth bags with the Viberg branding on it, which I thought was really cool. I feel like it's pretty standard to have these sorts of things for boots these days, but they just add to the experience. Feels good. Feels like they care. So I'm really excited. So let's try to lace these up. Maybe. I don't know. Unless you guys want to see anything else on these. Lace them. Noah. Hey, Noah. Lace them. Oh, wow. There's 4 pairs of laces here then. So each of these bundles is actually 2 pairs, which is great because I will break them. Yeah, you know what? The weather in Chicago is not so bad right now. It's been earlier this week, it was in the 60s, which is insane. Say hi to Haley for me. I need to come visit both of you guys. Maybe I'll go there when the weather's better or worse in Chicago, because it doesn't seem sensical to leave here when it finally gets good. So we weather in the 60s, and then today it went back into the 20s, and it's bizarro. Skip holding down. Is Skip holding down Horween? Yeah, Skip is still holding down Horween. He's the president still, and he was there every day. Right now, he actually just left this weekend to go see his daughter, who rides horses semi-professionally in Florida. So he's down visiting his daughter on a few weekends. But yeah, he's still there. Skip's the man. And it seems like you may have met him, but just from the way you asked that. But everybody that's met Skip will tell you that he's just the nicest guy, and he's awesome to work with. So he's still there. Rides horses and turns them into boots. That's not true, but not too far from true. I think Chris knows this, so you're just being a jerk. But a lot of countries eat horse, and that's where all the horse hides that we tan come from. And most of the horses that are ridden are sold as like more expensive than 5 of my cars. Yeah, the most of the horse hides actually from either from France or Canada. I don't know if they eat a lot of horse in Canada or if that's just where the horses come from, but it's actually illegal to slaughter a horse in the United States. So maybe it kind of sucks, but maybe they truck them across the border and slaughter them right across the border. I don't know. I don't know what the game is there. But so we've got a little bit of lacing. Lace them up. White Castle. Yeah, they probably don't use all beef. Does White Castle even exist anymore? I don't think I've wanted to go to White Castle ever. Yeah, come at me, White Castle. I don't know why I'm lacing these all the way. Looks kind of dumb like that. I think that's cool. I'm excited to try these on. They look pretty sleek. Privilege Castle. Yeah. Hey, Stephanie. It's good to see you again. Thanks for coming to hang out. I don't know if you have any Vibergs, but if you don't, these seem like the way to go. I'm also a huge fan of Alden. So if I get some money, I'll probably be picking up some Aldens too, and maybe do a little video like this. I've also noticed. Ready for a criticism of? Here's a criticism for Viberg, which I don't know if is necessarily. It might just be subjective. I feel like they use a little bit too much wax, because they feel really waxy and they kind of have a bit of a cloudy haze over it. Zoom in on toe cap. There's no cap, but these are plain toes, which I talked to a guy that sells shoes for a living, and I asked him because I told him I like plain toes, and I asked him why there's so many different designs, and I asked him if plain toe was the safest, boring grandpa one, because that's kind of how I feel. Maybe I am. And he said, yeah, pretty much the safe way is plain toe. It's kind of not too adventurous. And a lot of people are doing perforated toes, cap toes, Norwegian, the Norwegian, what's it called? Norwegian toe, split toe. And I told him I didn't really like those. And he said, a lot of people like them. The Norwegian split toe, yeah. A lot of people really like that. And I was trying to get at why. Because to me, I don't want to interrupt. Maybe I'm too snobby, but I don't want to interrupt like how smooth and sleek this is. And he said people just want something different. So those guys that are buying all the fancy toe stuff are I keep looking at my computer screen, but I should be looking at you. But all those guys are just trying to do something crazy and different to show off, which is cool. So I don't have too much else to say here. I just thought it was interesting because you can tell they didn't stain it again because it looks just like the natural I have. This one is very cloudy. Yeah, they did apply some sort of wax, and you could hear it. How stiff is the shoe tongue? Let's see. Well, it's lined. It's got a backer, and the whole boot is backed. I'm not sure what it is backed with, but there you go. It feels supple. It doesn't feel firm. The toe or the what are we talking about? The tongue. It doesn't feel firm. It feels pretty soft. But you can really, I mean, I keep doing this and it just sounds waxy. Whereas I do it on the wallet, it sounds a little squeakier. So it's definitely something's grabby on there, which makes me think they applied maybe some paste wax or something and buffed it in. But it looks great. It smells really good. I've bought a couple boots from that were made in China because they were made in Chrome Excel, and they just have this weird. It smells like, for me now I just equate it to the smell of China. They just smell like glue. It smells like adhesives, and this I can't smell any of that. It just smells like good leathery boots. So that's question, Noah, is really good. So the first thing I said in this video was I'm not sure how these are going to wear in, because a wallet, I know that this will wear in to get really dark and slowly turn into that golden brown shade. But that's because of the natural polishing action that a wallet has next to your bum, and just getting polished all day by your butt. Yeah. Which this one is starting to come out pretty good, but this is not shell. But yeah, it on a wallet, it just sort of you get like, see that luster? You also get a lot of that. It's sort of like naturally polishes itself, but on a shoe or a boot, I don't think it's going to have an opportunity for that friction. And also the moisture from your body expedites that polishing a bit on a wallet. So I don't know how these will age. I'm imagining that I'll just scuff them up a lot and they'll look just kind of badass. So we'll see. All right, I missed a bunch of questions here. Yeah. Okay, Chris, that is a good point. I've had many customers that have bought wallets from me tell me stories about how they've fallen in love with this leather because of their grandparents. So this one person I'm thinking of in particular, he was so pumped to tell me the story about how he has his grandfather's shoes. I believe they're Aldens that his grandfather wore in the 60s, and they're now his, and he's just resold them, and they look great. They look brand new. So these might, if I have kids, these might end up with my kids or their kids, which is a really cool thing to think about. Sort of like an heirloom. All right. Pretty dark. I don't know if they'll get dark. I know that if I were to just leave these out in the sun, they will change. They get a little redder from what I've seen in sort of not a nice way. Yeah. So plain toe is the right choice. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's personal thing. I like cap toe too, but like I said, I don't want to really interrupt that sort of. I want as big a piece of shell as possible. Let's see. Oh, the reason I brought up the waxy finish, and it looks At certain angles, it looks a little cloudy and hazy. And I'm imagining that when this toe starts to crease, we'll have to confirm this. I'm imagining that when this toe flexes, gosh, it's firm. Yeah, it's wow, it's immediately doing it. Yeah, there you go. So when the toe flexes, that wax layer, gosh, see it right there. That wax is actually sort of doing the delamination game and coming apart from the shell itself. So it's giving it like it's almost like there's a film over the top of it. I don't know if you can see this happening in real time. But see that white? That's from all the wax, which doesn't bother me because I know that you can just brush that back and polish it back. But it's a little weird how much they used. Sure makes for a nice presentation though. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. Plain toe or right choice. I like plain toe. I think a lot of people do. Why do they wax them? Okay, so let me make sure these are right. They're not. The wax actually fills in the fibers, so you get a lot smoother look. And it also adds luster. So when we polish wallets, we use a product that has a bit of wax in it, but it also has more penetrator in it. Let's see if my headphones will go this far. So for the wallets that we polish, we actually use this Sapphire, which is there is wax in it, but it's creamier. It's more like it's not like a bar of wax. And I'm imagining what they're using is harder wax with less of a driver or less of a penetrator in it. This stuff is if anybody has a jar of this, it's I don't know. I don't want to offend Sapphire, but it's like it's like smelling gasoline or something. It has that very powerful, pungent scent that's almost like gasoline, but not like a bad gasoline. And it doesn't smell like turpentine or anything. It just very powerful. But this is what we use, and it's very expensive, so that might be a reason for them to not do it. But those waxes, if you imagine a suede and you were to take a layer of wax to the top of the suede, you can actually bind all those little fibers of suede together and then come back later and polish them down, and it mats them together and makes it really smooth and shiny. So that's the thing about Viberg is I don't know how many stores they actually have. I don't think they make a whole lot of shoes, so I don't think there's a reason for them to trick you on the shelf. I think this is what I think it's fine, by the way, but I think this is what they've known for years of how to smooth out and polish a boot, make it look really shiny, because it looks great. Like this one, I didn't crease at all, and I don't have any of that wax. So this wax on this one, you can see where I've bent it, and this one hasn't been touched. But I think that's just how they process their finishing processes. I don't know. And I don't think they're trying to screw anybody like like how they do at Best Buy. How do I bring back the shine on my Cordovan watch strap that was soaked with sweat from wearing during the summer construction field? Yeah. Okay. I've actually ran with this today, and I've been running with this watch band. It's kind of gross, but this is getting a little dull. It doesn't have that surface luster. It seems to have more of like an undertone or like a luster from underneath. I'm getting messages, so I don't know if I want to show you this. But it's still kind of shiny. Oh, there's a Noah. So my advice sometimes that water will the other components of water will remain on the surface. So what you might want to do is just take a brush and brush it and see if that helps, because that might be free if you have a brush. But otherwise, I would fully wash it with soapy water. I actually just used. I filmed a video for this that I haven't released, but I actually just used dish soap and water and wash it like you would wash your car. Um, so just get soap and water in it, and then it's very important, like they said in this booklet, which was good advice, is to let it dry overnight and let all that moisture naturally remove itself. And don't use like a hair dryer or anything. And then when it's dry, apply some Cordovan polish. So this is the Sapphire Cordovan cream that I highly recommend. It seems to give a nice luster and a little bit of fill, unlike this, which is a great luster and a lot of fill, and then some of that waxy look. This doesn't have that. So this should get you some luster back. But if it's really beat up, you might have a hard time getting that back. So I would suggest trying that. And if you can't get it, let me know and I'll help you out. I'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll just make you a new one. Huffing fetish video. Yeah, it smells good. I don't know if I want to huff it, so I keep closing it. So, what else you guys got? Throw it at me. Oh, somebody asked about what Aldens. I think Chris asked about what Aldens I would get. I don't know. I I have these plain toes now, and again, if they fit, they might be good for a plain toe. But I borrowed a pair of long wings, sort of dress shoes, um, from Nick and Skip actually, and I really like them. But I don't dress up very much. I work in a tannery, so I kind of would only wear them at weddings, and I probably would get something like that though. But I do like boots. It'd be really awesome to have a shell Roy boot because I like the Roy boot a lot. I'm stuck on Clark's boots. I have a pair of Clark's also with a crepe sole. They're light and have soft. Yeah. For some reason the crepe sole on the Clark's is more squishy than some of the other crepe soles that I've had. A few years ago, Horween did a project with Clark's and made some Chrome Excel desert boots, the sort of chukka boots, and I have a pair of those that are really great. But actually, when we were taking engagement photos for my wedding, I wore those chukkas from Clark's, and the photographer had me stand on the beach. My wife and I were in Santa Cruz taking these photos. And he had us standing on rocks on the beach, and the water, I don't know why he had me stand there. I just got completely drenched. So those boots kind of got messed up with the salt water, but I still have them. They actually look fine. But Clark's are great. I still like Clark's. Flexible sole, but I'd like to get a pair of big boy cool boots. What do you recommend? Well, the hardest thing for me, and then this is also why I haven't had a pair of shell boots, is the hardest thing is sizing. So I think if you get a good size, it doesn't, if you pick a good size and a good brand, you really can't go wrong. So I haven't worn these Vibergs, but they look great. So I would say look at Viberg. Somebody's talking about Alan Edmonds right now. It's a little far for me to read, but Alan Edmonds is great. I would suggest taking a look at Alden as well. But it really depends on what you're going to do. I like a lot of those styles for a few reasons. Is you can wear a boot like this with a suit and probably get away with it. Maybe not this color as much, and maybe not the sole as much. But I've worn my Roy boots I wore my Roy boots at my wedding, and I thought they looked great. So you can sort of wear it's almost like a hybrid boot. So take a look at Alden. You could take a look at Rancourt. But the biggest thing is sizing, and it's really hard to get the size right. So if you can get at a store that has any of those in person, that would be worth doing. And I would suggest, what would I suggest? There's a website called 6 p.m. that if you search Horween in there, sometimes they have really great deals. But all this stuff is so expensive, so that's why I say the sizing is important. So if you get something that's not the right size, or it doesn't feel like it will be the right size, immediately send it back, because I've had boots that I tried to force and it just didn't work. But we should talk more, because I think I know a bit about your style, and I think I can give you better. We can shop online together. At the tannery, I started at the tannery in 2006, and originally I was supposed to be a summer job there, and I've been there now for a long time, but it's almost a 14-year anniversary. Um, but I've originally started because they had a fire at the tannery, and in 2006, all of the formulations that they had were on paper, and they were worried. And luckily, this didn't happen, but they were worried that that fire could have burnt up all the formulations. So Skip knew that I was kind of nerdy, and he hired me to. His words were digitize or computerize the formulas. So I input them into an Excel sheet, actually, and would just print them out like that until I understood the business a little more and realized that they needed these formulations to be variable, because sometimes they don't just run the same batch size every time. They might need to make many, or they might need to make few with that same formulation. So I programmed it in Excel to be variable. And since then, I've sort of been uh, not like the IT guy there. I'm more involved in production there, and trying to bring the current world's technology to a 100-year-old tannery. So a lot of what I do now is non-technical operations for the tannery. So I don't know the chemistry. I know a bit of it. I couldn't make the formulas, but I'm more in charge of getting the things made. So that's what I do at the tannery. Alan Edmonds cascades are amazing. Got a pair used for $70. Alan Edmonds is really crushing it lately with some of their Chrome Excel boots. They have a what's it called? I wish I could look it up. They have a plain toe Chrome Excel boot that looks like the Roy boot, actually, which I haven't worn, but they look great. And Alan Edmonds seems to have a bunch of other cool styles right now. They seem to push out a lot of new styles where a company like Alden won't change what they've done for the last 100 years. So used boots. No, 6 p.m. Noah. 6 p.m. is not used. They're like a clearance site. So 6 p.m. will get contacted by Alan Edmonds, or I bought Wolverines on there. I've bought Timberlands on there. But they'll get contacted by those and just buy a huge batch of their extra inventory and sell it at a discount. So it's good stuff. It's new stuff, but it might be seconds, or it might be extra stock that they can't get rid of, or something they're trying to remove from their offerings. So 6 p.m. is cool. It's hit or miss, though. It depends on the day. So what else? These look good, though. So I think I might turn off the camera here and try these on, and then I'll upload the unboxing video, and then I'll probably play some video games and drink some beer. So if anybody wants to join me on that, let's do that. Unless you guys have any other questions. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I'm going to tell you a real embarrassing fact. I've been playing, for the last couple of months, I've been playing World of Warcraft, which is good for me because they seem to have made the game really boring. Or boring, meaning they made it really easy. So for me, I'm just working so much. It's good to just go sit down and do something that I don't have to think about. Yeah, I should probably stop. It definitely. Hey, if you come to Chicago, send me an email. It's my email address is phil@ashlandleather.com, and we'll definitely meet up. But yeah, I should probably stop playing WoW. I liked Overwatch for a while. I did not like Fortnite, and that seems to be what everybody wants to play, so I'm kind of homeless for games, and I think Noah is in the same boat from what I recall. But Vermintide 2 is I'm kind of feeling like playing that and drinking, Victory at Sea. Yeah. Hey, so, if you guys are around, I will play not Fortnite. I will play Vermintide tonight. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.